I want you to really hear me clearly when I say this. Stop being the woman who has to turn it on to get paid. And the moment you log off, everything goes quiet. Hey, it's your girl Sherry Summers, and I want to let you know that your money doesn't stay. And the reason it doesn't stay because it comes in wave. You push, you get paid, you stop, the money also stop. I want to address that right now because I know that you're constantly thinking about what should I launch? What should I post? Because you feel like as long as you stop launching, as long as you stop posting, then the money goes away. And there's no continuity, there's no consistency. And that's something a lot of people are not talking about, but I want to address that today. So why does it feels like everything reset every month? And because your business isn't built to carry itself. It built to respond to your effort. And I know this all too well because that's what happened with my business as well. When I started building my business, I started building from a space where I would go live 360 days of the year. That's how I started off. I would grab an iPhone 6 at that time and I would go live. And I think when people ask me about how I started my business, how I was able to show up on video and show up on camera, I told them, hey, I went live 360 days and that built my muscles and that was really great. And I highly recommend people do it because it builds your speaking muscles, it builds the muscles of confidence to show up, it get rid of low self-esteem, low vibration, all of this stuff that you don't need because it doesn't do anything good for you. You can't create from that space. But here's another thing that it does do, though. It made me believe that had I stopped showing up, that the money would stop. So I kept feeling like I could not stop. I kept feeling like I have to keep showing up because I didn't have structure, I didn't have systems, so I kept doing that. And what I had created for my business is my business started to depend on me and it did not know how to carry itself. It did not know how to carry itself because I didn't create certain type of system or structure or offer that would help it to carry itself. And after a while, that can only sustain you for so long. That can only sustain you for so long because that business need a way for you to show up and that business need a way for your intellectual properties to be out there. And there's so many people that I talk to on phone calls, on DMs that are telling me, hey, I did this masterclass and people showed up for the masterclass, but when I pitched my offer, it was crickets. And I think I'm just gonna you can hear the disappointment in their voice when they're talking, and they're like, you know what, Sherry, I just think I'm going to do it again next month. I'm just going to do it again next month. It wasn't good this time, but I'm going to do it again next month. And now we hear somebody say, hey, I did a 7-day challenge, and when I did the challenge, I didn't get the response that I wanted, but I'm just going to take a break and I'm just going to do it again next month. And let me just be clear. Let me honor their consistency to do it again because we all want that. But part of me wanted to ask, what is your overall business model? What is your overall structure? Because if you're moving from that flow, that low vibrating flow of it didn't work, but let me just push again next month, that tells me that there's no structure in place. That tells me that something is missing. And I've seen it so much. Every time you slow down, your income reminds you. Every time you try to take a rest, you feel behind. Every time everything gets quiet, you feel the pressure to do something. Keyword there. That low key anxiety. That's not because you're not doing enough. It's because nothing is in your business is working without you. And let's be honest, you don't want another strategy. You want something that can actually hold. Listen, some things that bring in money without needing you to perform every time. Because why? That get exhausting. That gets super exhausting. So one of the ladies, she opted into one of my offers and she was explaining to me what happened in her masterclass. And she says, hey, I went with this coach and this coach told me I need to do this in my masterclass. I need to do that. And I'm like, okay, that sounds good. that sounds good. And she says, but Sherry, I just feel like I'm just exhausted in doing it, mentally and physically exhausted in doing it. And I'm like, well, why are you doing it? Have you tried another approach? Now, let me explain to you why I'm saying this. That people think strategy is what makes them money. But truth of the matter is your alignment. Everything I do in my life, I ask myself, is the answer, is the path of me saying yes? Is that aligned with me? Is that what I want? Because I'm not just saying yes for it to be superficial. I'm saying yes to the thing because I got to ask myself, is this aligned with what I say I want? Because if it's not aligned, it's not going to work for me. It's not it's not aligned. It is not going to work for it just won't work for my soul. So in every decision, whether it's in my personal life or in my business life, every decision that I make, it just has to align with me. Like it just has to. So I create from energy. That's why sometimes when people are like, hey, you need to lock in your email system, the automation system. That's the only thing with me, because sometimes my creativity is so great that I come up with different ideas. And when I come up with different ideas, I elevate so fast and so much that the way how I wrote something or communicate something, it gets better and better. And I have to take out those automation emails and put in new fresh emails in there because I got better. I got better. But I also know that how our body and our mind works, that we get a small area to be on. We get a small area to be in that movement, that momentum on. And then there are days when life happens that knock you down, that you can't be as energetic, you can't be as on. So you got to bottle that up and create asset that helps you to push that out when you don't feel like it, or when life just keep hitting you left and right. So I know right now, if you're listening to this, you may have launched a masterclass, you may have launched a challenge, and it didn't go as well. The pitch didn't go as well, or the follow up didn't go as well. And you're like, what am I doing wrong? I'm going to tell you that what is nothing wrong with your offer, is nothing wrong with your delivery. But the way your business is structured is only structured for you, the person, to carry it. And as you grow, as you scale your business, it's good now, but it's not good for scaling. It's not good for scaling. If you turn off, as in you don't post, as in you don't run a masterclass, as in you don't run a challenge, and your business stop because you're not doing those things, then you don't have a business. And I know that's harsh to say, but you don't. So that's why you have to have different style of the way you sell your offer to make sure that you are locked in. Like, how are you selling your offer without it always constantly have to be on? Now, do you need to be on at a certain time? Yes, 100%. But what the idea here is that I want you to think about, Tony Robbins said this as a lot. I mean, his whole business is around this. It's like, how do you get in that state to keep yourself in that state? And what I mean by state, I mean, we understand that strategy is not what sell, tactics is not what sell, but it's your alignment and your spiritual being of how you believe in yourself. Because everything that we believe in, guess what? We do it, right? So if we believe in something, we launch it out, we take advantage and we launch that thing out and we activate that thing in the world. But here's a human nature. Here's a natural human nature that we're not always going to be on. We're not always going to be available. We're not always going to be present. We're not always going to be waking up every day smile. You're looking for something that actually holds something that brings money without you needing to perform every time, because right now you're not building income, you're rebuilding it every time from scratch, over and over again. And that's the actual problem you should be trying to fix. Not more content, not more launches, not another strategy, because until that is handled, the cycle doesn't stop. The cycle doesn't stop. And there are so many times I see people solving for the wrong part of their business, right? They're solving for the wrong area in their business. And one of the area they neglected to solve for is, how do I create something that allow me to hold? How do I create something that I can bag up, package up my expertise and it keep going for me? And we have we our energy works so well. And I know I'm shooting a messenger, because that is how, when I look back now, that is how my business, that's how I grew my business. And I will say I was wrong for doing that. I listen, I was wrong for doing that. I am a natural go-getter. And I had to learn, like, where did that come from? Where did that tenacity of keep going, keep showing, where did that come from? Because the reason I can say it was come from a survival mode, like feel like I have to turn on, else the money will drop, the revenue drop, the lifestyle will drop. It came from that survival mode that I have to keep going. But I also think it was a cultural thing too that was embedded in me from me being Jamaican, in my, so I had to relearn certain things about my life. I had to retrain my brain in learning different principle, and let go of the principle that no longer was going to serve me. So not only was I was operating survival, and that's maybe what you're operating right now. You're operating the survival mode, and you feel like, I have to do something next. I have to promote something else. And each month you're promoting something completely different. So there's no rhythm, there's no cadence. I was invited to speak at this in this Facebook group, and we're in, shout out to the Profit Lab. And inside of that conversation, I was telling them about my rhythm and my cadence of how I make money. And you have to have that offer that create that rhythm, create that cadence that you can repeat over and over. And that offer is an asset that you have, where you can constantly repeat it over and over again. So you're not starting from scratch. You know exactly each piece, from when your target audience come to your email list. You know the next offer that they're going to get. And then after that next offer, maybe you have a high ticket offer, but you have to have that cadence going. How do you move through that? But what I'm seeing is people are throwing out spaghettis to the wall and trying to see which one of this thing work, instead of getting in the habit and get in the rhythm of doing the same thing over and over. Like in our space, there's only 3 offers that we sell, and we just keep repeating those offers over and over. Right? So what I do is just create content around those offers. So there's no surprise of what I'm going to do next, or how will this look, or I'm confused. I'm starting from scratch because I need to make money. So we have to get to a point where we stop being the engine of our business, because the human body was not designed to keep going 24/7. The human body was not designed to keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. That's not how the human body was designed. So the human body gets tired. The human body goes through a situation where life happens beyond your control. And if you have to keep showing up just to make your money, you do not have a business that bring you freedom. You have a business that's taking up most of your time. You have to get to a place where you design a business that gets you your time back. You have to design a business that gets you your time back, that can operate without you having to get on a sales call, without you having to constantly be on a DM, because without you having to promote the launch. Think about the idea of the launch, promote the launch, send out the follow-up email, host the launch. All of that is good when you're looking for that huge cash infusion. Now, how do I know it? Because I wrote an entire book on it. That's how I know. I wrote an entire book on it. And it has paid me very well until it couldn't anymore. So I made the mistake so I can come back and teach you. I made the mistake that you need an offer that can sell without you. You need an offer that you can send out to your email list and it will sell on its own. You need an offer where you don't have to use a cell phone, a Zoom call to convert it, a masterclass to convert it, a high ticket to convert it. You need an offer that has that sweet spot, that's going to stay right there and says, hey, Listen, this is for you. And so many times that we have a low ticket offer where those 7 to 27 to $97 are coming in. And then we have the high ticket offer where it's like 3,500 or more coming in, but there's no offer in between where you have what we call your ascension offer. So that for your high ticket offer, 90% of the time, for most of the time for high ticket, you have to be live. You have to be on. You don't just kind of sell itself. Either you're launching it live to convert them, or you're getting on a sales call to convert them, because it's such high ticket, and which is understandable because a person want to see what they're buying. And then the low ticket offer, yes, you don't have to be on, and yes, it's coming daily, but last time I checked, your light bill wasn't $27. So you see that you need that offer that's kind of sit in the sweet spot, and that offer is what I call like your 1K offer. That offer that sit right there in the sweet spot. And the purpose of the 1K offer, because that offer can be sold on its own, or it can be an upsell for your low ticket offer, or it can be a downsell for your high ticket offer. It sits right there in the middle where it doesn't, because it's low enough to where you don't need to get on a phone call with someone, and it's high enough for it to make sense in your business. So I just want you to imagine having your $27 offer going in, and then you have many of your 1K offer coming in, the many of those offers coming in. And then you also have your high ticket offer. So you have all these stacking of money that's coming in. You have your low ticket offer coming, you have your 1K offer coming in, and then you also have your high ticket offer coming in. And so now you can see the idea of, you don't feel pressured to always feel like you have to be on, you have to be there, you have to be there. You don't feel pressured of always having to show up, right? So because if you have, and here's the thing too with high ticket, if you have a high ticket offer where somebody's paying you like $2,000 a month for that offer, and that person, because it's who people are, just life happens, right? Life happens. That person, for whatever reason, you didn't get a payment for that month. That middle offer, the ascension offer, that 1K offer that I'm talking about, that offer sits right in the middle to make up the difference of what your high ticket offer didn't do. And that's why it is like vital to have that 1K offer in your business. It is so vital because think about it. 10 sales, that's $10,000. 20 sales, $20,000. And I think you got the math. So I want you to really look at all the things that you sell, all the things that you deliver out to the world to make an impact. And I want you to ask yourself, would a 1K offer work for your business? Would that offer be able to move people throughout your funnel? Now, how to create that 1K offer is not just, I'm going to slap something on and call it a 1K offer. That's not how it works. Because again, that's where magnetic message, buyer ready messaging comes in. That's where the sales psychology come in. That's where the sweet spot, because you're not converting someone on a live call, because you're not converting someone on a phone call or on a live event, you now have to make sure that your messaging is tight when you're talking to the person, that they really understand what this expertise that you're selling for 1K is. You have to really understand the magnitude, because you're not physically there selling them. So the way you deliver it to convert, you have to really dial in your message, which is what this whole thing has always been about. This whole thing in our Next Move community, in our Next Move, we talk about how to get your message dialed in so well. And the reason, let me just be clear, the reason why, because I don't recommend anyone going to call for anything under $1,000, anything. So, and the reason why, if anyone feel like they have to, which high achieving women usually don't, but the reason is that they doubt what they're offering. They doubt what they're offering, so they feel like, let me get on the call so I have to convince them. Instead of saying, let me get better at communicating the value and the outcome of this thing. Let me get better at communicating the outcome and the value of what this offer can do for them. Instead of working out that muscles, we're like, oh, let me jump in a call and then let me just tell you all those great things about me and yeah, and that doesn't work. So I want you to the takeaway here is one, you need a 1K offer that sits in the middle, that you can sit where you're getting paid, where there's a payment plan, where your money's stacking. It's stacking from the low ticket, it's stacking from the high ticket, but that 1K offer comes in so right in the middle. That's number one. But number two is not, again, slapping something on there. It's really understand how to magnetize people with your words. How when a person read, when you're selling this offer and they read information about the offer, they can raise their hand and elevate the identity of who they are. I elevate the identity of who they are when they're using this and when they're solving this problem with your offer. And we make the mistakes of just slapping a number on something and calling it a name and try to send it out. That's not how, there's so much brain and sales and oh my goodness, because I love the brain. I love the brain. Like, I was telling somebody, like, people were, it's weird. Like, my friends, my business friends, we love the brain and how the brain thinks and how the brain operates, and the mind is just such a beautiful thing. So is the mind is so calculated. So to have an offer and say, oh, I'm just going to name it 1K, it goes deeper than that. It goes so deeper than that, because we need to hear the offer back and forth so we can, like, we need to hear the offer back and forth so we can define it. In my live message and audit, we do that a lot too. Define your message. We audit your message to hear, because if you're writing it, sometimes you may need somebody else need to hear what you're saying, right? So we have spaces that we take care of that for you to help you out with that. All right, but I'm gonna hop off. But I wanted to challenge you to start thinking about what is that offer, that middle offer that can give you some time and freedom where you're not in between your launches, where you're not always having to show up, or where you don't have to be the bottleneck or the engine of your business. That was a key that was missing in my business. And so now my mind was like, okay, well, what do I say? How do I sell it? If I'm not going to be physically show up, if I'm not getting on Zoom to sell, how do I do it? So I started practicing my muscles and how to effectively communicate and offer to someone without me physically being there. Because more than likely, when I'm selling it to them, they're reading it on their own time. So how do I deliver that energy so they can see themselves and their identity in that? So what I did, I started creating spaces like the next move or live message and audit to be able to help my clients do things like this. So they to help my clients do things like this, because to say I'm going to grab my whiteboard and kind of show you how to do it and lay it out, I can do that. But truth of the matter is, it's a bantering back and forth to to get somebody to hear. Okay, how does this sound? How does that sound? And if that's something you need help with, we definitely can help you with that. Just literally comment the word 1K below or on my DM 1K, and we can walk you through what that looks like. All right, so I want to challenge you and let me know if you're thinking about doing a 1K offer. I would love to hear what that looks like for you. It's your girl, Sherry Summer Bell. Talk to you later.